As she went by, one soldier gave his friend a kind elbow and said, "Try not to trip on your clipboard again." Like static, laughter followed her down the corridor. The nurse turned away. She didn't. She moved silently, head down, cautiously, her eyes constantly watching in a sea of shiny boots and booming egos. In a sea of white coats, she was simply another soft-spoken medical staff member to the majority of the base. Nobody could recall her name. Nobody inquired. They referred to her as a doctor, a bandage girl, or worse, the assistants. However, she never corrected them. They chuckled even though she worked night shifts when no one else volunteered, cleaned up blood no one else wanted to see, and sutured wounds in quiet because she didn't shout, didn't flex, and didn't appear like one of them. Until the day the general showed up, he entered without warning, surrounded by a wall of quiet and two assistants. His eyes and features were piercing. Chatter stopped as soon as he entered the hospital. Even the arrogant ones stood up. He looked over everything. Medical supplies, clipboards, and patient logs are all handled with the icy precision of a man who has been taught to detect weakness in a heartbeat. The nurses remained still. After the physicians held their breath, he looked at her. Even while the general stared at her, she was moving precisely and unflinchingly while washing an injured soldier's arm. The room awaited his departure, but he remained. Rather, he moved forward. He said, "Where's your rank?" Slowly, without surprise or hesitation, she looked up. "Sir?" He gestured to her empty chest and asked, "You heard me?" No rank, no name. Why? The whole hospital froze. After quietly cleaning her hands, she took a folded, worn ID tag out of her back pocket. Without saying anything, she gave it to him. After glancing once, the general abruptly became alert. The aides froze, the room gasped, and he then gave her a public salute. He firmly said, "Captain," while maintaining eye contact with her. "It's an honor." A pin could be heard dropping. She gave a single nod to each medic, soldier, and grinning officer who were all motionless. "Just taking care of business, sir." Everything changed at that point, because the ID displayed a history in addition to a name. Black Ops deployment, Special Forces medic, and two-time Silver Star recipient. Honorably released at her request following the failure of a classified mission. Despite leaving the battlefield, she continued to serve. Now the other nurses gave her a different look. She was unable to look at the troops who had made jokes behind her back. When the police requested her to go outside during a discussion on actual job, he discreetly moved away. The general continued after that. He looked around at the others. More field trauma has been witnessed by this woman than by the majority of you in training simulations. She has kept her unit breathing in the face of hostile fire, carried injured people through flaming wreckage, and held bleeding teammates in deserts. And she returned to serve in silence rather than for fame. He raised his voice. To lead, she didn't require a title. She saved lives without a claim. Even before we awarded her stripes, she was already a captain. He then left, leaving a room full of people who would never again regard her in the same light. As usual, she returned to washing wounds. The quiet surrounding her, however, was no longer derisive. It was a matter of respect. Because noise isn't necessarily how strength announces itself. I occasionally work the night shift. It folds bandages occasionally. It sometimes keeps its horrors deeper and its awards hidden in a drawer. However, it recognizes its own authority when it enters the room. She never requested a salute, but when one was given, it came from the highest level. Respect is not a prerequisite for true strength. Silently, it earns it. Please subscribe to the channel if this story touched you. Click like and forward this to someone who keeps everything together in private without ever claiming credit. If you were moved by this story, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below with your thoughts.